Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This isn't how living to me was told. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is dying, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away.
You're the night sky, trying to make me see your stars. But the dark gets so lonely. Now I see violet, I can feel silence. And the dark's all that I see. When your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound, I'll find violet in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. Be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. You're the night sky, hiding behind dark gray clouds. I can't figure you out now. I see your blue. There is so much cold in you, and the silence is so loud when you go. I just stay dancing with my shadow all day. Watch the tide. I can't find the point where our two paths align. But you're the
thoughts end when I start to think. Oh, the hole closer starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye. I forgive the pain you gave to me so long ago. Sleepless nights I laid awake just begging to let go. I almost got to suicidal thoughts, but you stepped in. An angel sent from heaven showed me how to live again. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye.
Hello everyone. Actually, let me check something here first. We do have audio. Awesome. Cool. Hello everyone. Welcome to Inside Fnatic's Brush, the podcast that brings you a little bit closer to the weekend of the LEC. And what a weekend it's going to be as we're entering week 8, which will be the last week of the LEC and the Super Week, a 3-day game. So thank you for joining me today. We'll be covering week 7 that just went by and was unfortunately not a great week for Fnatic. A 0-2 week that we haven't had in quite a while. I'll be covering that in the Fnatic segment, but what the hell's happening with my hair, guys? I'm sorry. But yeah, we'll first of all actually be talking about the playoffs situation, especially for that final spot, that 6th spot, which is everything to play for between SK, Astralis, Excel, and Vitality, I believe. Also asked you guys a question for this week, which was your thoughts on the 0-2 result, so close obviously to the end of the split, and what was your initial reaction? Is it time to already press the panic button? Do we replace the whole team or do we just chill? So we'll go over the results of the polls, and yeah, we'll talk about Fnatic, obviously the 0-2, what happened, what we can take away from this result, and what we can look forward to. And then this Super Week 8 predictions. It's going to be a banger. I believe they've changed the schedule around a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be a fun one. In any case, let's move on to our first segment of the LEC. Actually, 3 teams that are on the upwards trend this time, and unfortunately, it hurt me when I had to prepare this podcast that I had to put Fnatic next to that red arrow. But as you can see, the standings following last week's results, Rogue was at the top despite a 1-1 result last week. There's a big competition for second place now, G2 in sole position of 5th. Excel and Astralis fighting for that ultimate spot in playoffs. Then we have bottom of the seeding, bottom of the standings, not seeding, standings, with SK, Vitality, and Schalke. Now, for the teams who did well last week, starting with Mad Lions. Now, Mad Lions, I was actually kind of hesitant to put it on the sort of upwards trending team because they had a bit of, let's call it a banger game against Astralis, where it really looked like Astralis had the game, but they kind of threw it, and Mad Lions, after some plays, they actually managed to bring it back in the end, and they win a game which I believe they had. I mean, they like Astralis played really well, but I think what they were missing on was playing the map properly. And Mad Lions, while they were getting killed and they were getting caught, they were always ahead in terms of objectives, like in terms of turret, in terms of map pressure. And I think that's kind of what made the difference towards the later stages of the game. So while they lost, while they won in a very close game against Astralis on Friday, on Saturday they went against Rogue, who looked like the best team going into this week. And they actually played, I mean, it was a close game, but they played much more consistent and much more controlled in front of Rogue, who is known to be the team who's quite, well structured in their way of playing the game. Um, Specifically, Karzi, who had quite an outstanding game on his Varus, I believe. And actually, a surprise pick with Elyoya going Trundle. Trundle's not too bad right now, especially with Divine Sunderer, but it felt like this was more of a pocket pick for Zanzara. But it seemed to have worked pretty well there. And yeah, Mad Lions actually managing to score a 2-0 week, which I believe hasn't been the case for quite some time now. So they bumped themselves up to second while they were in that sort of third, fourth kind of place. And they're competing now to stay at the sort of upper bracket of the playoffs. So congratulations to them. Next to that, we have G2 also scoring a 2-0 week on their side. Obviously facing SK, had a 2-0 week last week, but kind of fumbled on their game against G2 and Misfits. And G2 this time not losing against Misfits, playing much more standard comp here with the Xinzao and Yankos, Reckless on his Tristana. We did see Gangplank on Wunder and Caps on a more control mage oriented pick with his Oriana. Reckless and Yankos just kind of popped off this game, to be honest. There weren't that many kills, but there was just a lot of good sort of map pressure, and it really feels like G2 is back, at least to some extent, to the competitive level we're expecting them to be at. To be honest, I think they did have a bad week. They did have a complicated period, but I think they're coming back to their form on their side. So they're still fifth right now, but if they have a very strong super week, they could potentially bring it back to top four in the standings, and I believe this would pretty much secure them at an upper bracket seeding, so a top four seeding for playoffs. And finally, our dear Excel. Excel also scored. There's actually quite a lot of teams who scored a 2-0 week. And yeah, Excel, I think that was a really important week for them. They went 0-2, I believe, the week prior, if I'm not mistaken, against Misfits, and who was the other team? Against SK, right. So for them to still be in contention for that sixth spot, they had to stay, they had to come back to their winning ways, and they scored a big 2-0 week, winning against Vitality and Schalke. I think the Schalke game was kind of expected them to win, even though it was actually kind of cutting it close in the early game. But Schalke is just very sad to watch. Kira is just the worst jungler right now, and I have no idea why they didn't decide to keep Gilius in the first place. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes in terms of roster moves, and it feels bad because I kind of like Nuclear Int, the way he's playing, and I think there's some good elements on Schalke, and it's sad that out of the recent movements, the weight of Kire is stronger than the positive that Nuclear Int can bring. But with that said, it was a very strong game from Nukeduck against Schalke, and again, very important game on against Vitality, which they really dominated. I believe they ended at over 10k gold diff. It was, Vitality is another disappointment, to be honest. When we spoke about it at the beginning of the split, right? I think a lot of people were expecting them to be like a top 5 team with the talent on them. if Kira is the worst jungler of the LEC right now, Litter is the worst mid laner, and it's absolutely crazy to say that Litter is the worst mid laner, because there's high expectations on him. Like, he's even failing on the mechanical aspects, where this is supposed to be a strong suit, like supposed to be that very strong, like assassin style player as well, which is heavily based on good mechanics, right? And it's insane that this is where he's stumbling right now. So yeah, again, Vitality is just all about self-made, making the lead and sort of being the funnel of Vitality success, and there's just nothing for them to play around apart from that. So yeah, Excel Vitality, another insane game from Nukeduck on his Lucian, 809. I think that's the test kind of of his level, and even Krives like had a decent game on his Jace. So very well played for Excel, who's putting themselves in a very good position for playoffs now. They're competing with Astralis, who stayed at sort of at the foot of that sort of playoffs podium, if you can call it like that. And the last week is actually going to be super important. As you can see, there's literally like one win that separates 6th and 8th. 4 teams who are looking at getting that final spot, and it's just going to be like strength of schedule. And I believe out of those 4 teams, Astralis has the easier time. I'm sorry if you hear the ambulance noises. I'm just gonna close that really quickly. Sorry, yeah. So Astralis actually has a better schedule, I believe. Let me just have a quick look here. They're facing SK, so another contender. They're facing Excel, another. So it's basically like it's boxing matches against the people who are gonna need to fight. Yeah. Oh my god, it's actually quite funny. Astralis is literally facing the 3 other teams who are contending for playoffs. So they're kind of running a mini gauntlet of their own, where they have to face SK, Excel, and Vitality. In the meantime, Excel has to face G2, obviously Astralis, and Rogue. It's looking not good for Excel, I'm going to be honest. And I think Astralis actually has this, which is absolutely crazy. It's nice to see that they've actually improved, but yeah, it's a bit sad for Excel, and they most probably gonna be missing out on a playoff spot again. With that said, it's gonna be time to talk about the downtrending teams, and it hurts me to talk about Fnatic like that. After, I believe I've put them on the next to the green arrow last week, and a 0-2 week. Not good. Not good. Losing against Rogue is one thing. Losing against SK, very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. And I'm not going to talk about everything that happened. There's a specific Fnatic segment, obviously, about that, but it's a bit of a shame that we miss out on basically staying first after Rogue loses against Mad Lions, and we don't capitalize to sort of help ourselves in staying on that first seed, right, and scoring as many points as possible to get how do you call it, into the upper bracket, the winners bracket of playoffs. So now it actually makes us go into a very complicated final week, because we are facing Mad Lions, Misfits, and Schalke, which I believe are 3 teams we lost against. So, yeah, big challenge. I'll talk more about Fnatic on their segment in a while. Let's talk about Vitality first. Vitality again. I mentioned that a bit previously, but this is not a team that should be like 8th right now. With the people that are on there, like Selfmade is possibly the only, if not consistent player, the only carry player real on this team. Litter is just doing mistakes upon mistakes. He's throwing the game for his team. It feels like he's playing solo queue, basically, and he's just making some really basic mistakes. I don't feel like Shigenda so far has been an upgrade over SLT. Cranshaw and Labrov. Sometimes they have a good game, sometimes they have a bad game, but it's not consistent. So it's just like particles of players, and it's just not a team. So I don't see Vitality making some sort of miracle comeback into the final weeks, or into this final week, I should say, into this super week. Who are they're facing Schalke, which should be fine. Then they're facing Rogue on Saturday, and then they're facing Astralis. And I personally don't think they're gonna win against Astralis. So I think it's a bit sad when you make those type of moves in the mid-season and you're just not looking like a competitive team. When I'm sure a lot of people were expecting them to make playoffs in that strong fashion. So yeah, that's kind of the roundup for LEC. Our eyes are gonna be on the Super Week now, a 3-day competition where anything can happen. I'm expecting a lot of changes in the standings. I'll show my predictions towards the end, obviously, but it's gonna determine. I'm pretty sure after, possibly once the Sunday games are done, I think we will have our bracket more or less, or at least we'll know which teams will have qualified. There's probably a scenario where we have to wait until Sunday until we. Wait, did I say Sunday we won't get to? Sorry, if I said Sunday, I meant to say on Saturday we'll probably know who's qualified for playoffs. Then it'll just be a question of seeding. But yeah, there's probably scenarios where we have to wait until Sunday until we know which teams are locked in for playoffs. But I'm pretty sure once the games on Saturday are done, that we will have our top 6. And personally, I'm expecting Astralis to make it just because of their strength of schedule. I doubt Excel is able to beat teams like G2 or what do you call it, Rogue. Even though they beat G2 on their first time facing them with the new roster, I don't think this sort of revitalized G2 is gonna let themselves be pushed around by Excel, and they'll know what's coming this time. So yeah, I think the sort of immediate top 6, so if you take like the first team on top 6 that you see on the screen right now, those are your playoffs team, and unlucky to rest basically. But with that said, let's move a little bit forward towards Fnatic by covering our question of the day. Yeah, I forgot I had put all these pictures. Yeah, so question of the day basically was, what are your reactions to this O2 week? Hi Akali Noob, hi Floppy. You're on the wrong channel. Yes, I am. It's no longer on my personal channel. We're doing it on the official Always Fnatic channel. Thank you for the Always Fnatic team for letting me do this here. But yeah, happy you're here. Happy you managed to find me. But yeah, basically what it is that I made a poll on Reddit and on the Twitter at IFB Podcast, where I was asking what are your reactions. So basically, each picture you're seeing here is supposed to be one of the poll results. So the first one was that you guys thought it was actually a good wake-up call, which is illustrated by Hilly Sang sleeping. So yeah, basically a good wake-up call in the sense that we were getting away with too many things, and it's good that it happened now that we kind of got slapped in the face, and we're gonna work on those mistakes. The other one was that you guys were actually kind of worried about the seeding, and potentially not make it into the upper bracket. So that's why there's a concerned upset gif. The other one, the third option was actually you guys were sad that we lost first place. So that's why you have this sort of frustrated Niski here. And the final one was that it doesn't matter. The best of fives is where the games are going to be played. So that's kind of we're all huddling up. 1, 2, 3 Fnatic. We're going into playoffs anyway. We're locked in, so it doesn't matter. Upper bracket, lower bracket. We're going in and we're here to win it all. So, unsurprisingly, you guys picked as a majority that you're actually kind of happy that we had lost in such a fashion, and that it was a good wake-up call. I've actually had a few comments from you guys, so I'm gonna put them on my screen right now. I got one from Twitter user El Percucu. I don't know if you're watching right now, but thank you for your comments. Where he says, I can feel all four of the above at the same time. While we might be worried about seeding, which decides how many best of fives we have to play and win, which decides if we qualify for Worlds, I'm still hopeful this will serve as a waking call to pass all the obstacles mentioned above. He also adds, I'm pretty sure that the team will realize that they can get away with things, that they can't get away with things like we were prior to 0-2 week. While they rely quite much on the clutch factor of the players, I'm expecting for the team to go back to Yamato principles and play cleaner games. I think that's a very, very valid point. That, while it's a good wake-up call, we have to be careful about our seeding because it's gonna impact how many games we have to play. Like we're still very far from actually qualifying for Worlds, to be honest. So that's the problem, is that while we're in a good position and we're playing well, once it comes to best of fives, like we want to give us the best chances to get as close to the number of points we need to get to Worlds. So definitely have to work on this different level of playstyle. I also agree on the fact that we kind of lost ourselves in the way we played, like the famous principles of Yamato, as he mentioned. I think were very important, and we kind of went back to our sort of old mistakes, especially the game against SK, and hopefully we kind of focus back on the way we played before, and we actually capitalize on that. I had another comment on Twitter from Nader Larbi. Thank you very much for comment. He says it's a good wake-up call because I was waiting for this to happen. We've become so predictable. Our macro is the same every game. Whippo invading red to spot enemy jungler, then going to gank Niski, Adam pushing early, pivoting to either mid or TPing on bot side. We have to find a solution. No more random fights. We have to regroup and play more for Adam because he may become one of the best top laners in the West soon. Giving Upset all the gold he needs to carry. Hilly Sang warding the same spots. I think we lost to Rogue because they followed every move we made on the game. The SK game, the TK pick was clutch, and yet we inted so hard. Yeah, there's a few things there. I do think we have become predictable. The Adam rotations or TPs are almost a trademark that even the casters were calling it. There's definitely a lot of resources that are put onto Upset because Upset, basically our bot lane manages their lane and their waves so well that they put the enemy in dangerous position, which allows Adam to TP bot, and also Adam manages to pick champions that give him good early pressure and helps him do a rotation like he did for the first blood against SK. So like we make those very good moves, right? But maybe they become a bit too predictable in some sense. About him being the best top laner in the West, I think it's a bit too early to say. I definitely think he's performing way higher than expectations so far. We'll have to see once we get to the end of the season. Hopefully, first experience at Worlds if we make it there, and see how he compares against international top laners. So I feel like that's a whole different conversation. With that said, I definitely think we have sort of a playbook that we follow, quite precisely, and we might have to diversify. Rogue definitely had our number on that one, and Inspired was just predicting every move, especially from Whipple. I think we had a really big jungle diff, and it just speaks from the experience of a player like Inspired against Whipple, who, while he's a decent jungler, I don't think he has that maybe advanced thinking of someone who's played jungler for many years, right? That's not to say that Whipple is a bad jungler. I think he understands the basics of it and executes well on the basics. But then against experienced junglers like Yankos and Inspired, maybe he becomes a bit too predictable, and Inspired was here to answer every move from Whipple. So maybe there's a bit of work to be done here as well for Whipple to sort of watch the tapes again, see what he can take from it, see what he can learn, and have those sort of jungle brains, if that makes sense. Just gonna mention a few responses on the Reddit as well, which is pretty much the same results. People voted a majority. The fact that it was a wake-up call. Close second is people obviously worried about the seeding. Then it's kind of a mix and match between people who are kind of sad of losing the first place, which I can understand, and people who are actually more focused on what we're able to deliver in a best of 5 environment. From Reddit, I have Carrick's Cake, I hope that's how it's pronounced, saying he's certainly worried about seeding, but he's not too worried about the playoffs, unless the last week is an indication of the team heading downhill, even in a sort of best of 5 context. Whether it's upper or lower bracket, as long as we're able to beat Misfits, 16 in the best of 5, we should easily be able to at least get to lower bracket semis, which is 1 best of 5 away from Worlds qualification. If we keep the copium up, hope that we get a good seeding so we can qualify for Worlds in an easier fashion. So yeah, that's, I think we've mentioned some of that previously, is that we want to make our time a bit easier with first seeding into playoffs. So the Super Week's going to be super important, yeah, obviously, but it's going to have a big impact, not only on the way we've played. So what I'm looking forward to in that final week is to see if there's been any improvement, if we're actually trying to change, modify our playstyle. Are we looking solid? Are we still doing the same mistakes? Was it really just an off week? Because I believe there was vaccination, which kind of impacted our training. Nonetheless, it's going to be sort of testimony of how we're going to be moving forward to the next next step, which will be playoffs. I have another comment from Dark LP or DARK LP. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. Firstly, I feel first place is not yet unreachable, so I won't say that I'm just sad for losing that spot. After this, I feel like if we don't get first, it doesn't matter if we get second or fourth, as long as we're top 4. This is a must. Normally, we should be placing higher than Misfits and or 2 places higher than G2, which guarantees us top 4 and we'll have double bracket. No doubt best of 5 matter more than this, and if we get double bracket, top 4, and we win at least 1 best of 5, then we go to Worlds, which is the ultimate goal split. So after all this, I'm convinced this is a good wake-up call. Yeah, again, it's all about making sure we get the best placements, and hopefully, I think, you know what, again, it's a good wake-up call. I think everyone agrees on this. We want to make sure we have the best seating. If we start in the lower bracket, I think there's going to be a bit of a mental stress, but we won't have space for any mistakes, which I think we need to give ourselves the space when we have a new team that hasn't really experienced best of 5 and we have a rookie in there. So one more comment from Alucard KS. It says, all of them really. Thank you very much. Yeah, I went through all those feelings as well, so I completely agree. And final comment from noob_drummer saying, honestly, I'm not too worried about seeding or that we had a 0-2 week. As long as we stay top 4, we're in good spot, I think. But what I am worried about is that in the losses that we showed, every single problem we had in spring split. So it makes me wonder, did we really solve these problems, or are we just winning more so than these issues didn't pop up in summer yet? I'm hoping it's just a bad week. Maybe Whippo or Niski had an off week and it missed up comms. But if we look disorganized again this week, I really don't have any hopes for playoffs. Yeah, I strongly agree with that one, and I think that's a super good point, because especially against SK, the fact that we were over forcing team fights, we were chasing them and everything, this looked like some spring shit. And that's personally what kind of worried me the most, is that I felt like we were making those mistakes that felt like we sort of put behind us, and either we were already still making those mistakes and just didn't get punished, so they were still part of our playstyle, or we just kind of had a complicated week of training, and in that case, it's fine. You just go next and hopefully improve on the next steps. But as you mentioned, and I completely agree, is that this will have to be proven on the final week. So, do we actually improved? Have we actually improved, or are we staying in our old ways, our old mistakes? So, yeah, some very good points. What's Ploppy saying here? I would tend to agree the team will be hungry for 3 wins next week, especially Niski, similar to his Akali game week. Yep. Adam is really outstanding in these losses too. Adam plays really consistently, I feel. He can get caught overextending, and I think that's kind of his rookie mistake. Makes me feel of like Whippo in 2018, to be honest, when Whippo liked to be aggressive, liked to push, liked to have the advantage, but tends to kind of forget that the jungler exists, and gets caught easily. Gives them an easy gank. Niski is a little off. The team is much less stable. Also, Yamato stated that they had the vaccine, and as a result, they had only 1 day and a half of scrim. So perhaps we made the natural mistakes we fought against before. That's what I was thinking as well. I think the vaccine not only impacted them in terms of the quality of trading, but as well in terms of their momentum and their energy. If it's their second dose as well, you'll tend to feel kind of groggy. So yeah, let's say that they had very bad week due to lack of preparation, and they're coming into that last week super strong. In any case, if they give us a 3-0, it'll be awesome going into that final week. But with that said, we'll still have to cover, unfortunately, last week's results, the 0-2. While obviously I've mentioned it before a little bit, I just want to go into the details of each game. The Rogue game just kind of felt lost from the get-go. Niski made a super weird level 1 play where he got to his lane very late, lost basically lane pressure, and then it just felt very complicated to do anything. Inspire just absolutely outplayed Whippo in terms of his map presence, and Inspire's probably getting MVP at this stage, so you know he is definitely helping Rogue get that first place, and yeah, just keep on overforcing, not respecting the team's strength or their presence on the map. For instance, when we try to go for heralds, we don't realize there's actually 4 of them, and we overstay. We try to fight, and yeah, Whippo dying over a pink, Adam overextending. It's just, you know, it's all these little things, and you know, losing against Rogue, I mean, it sucks, obviously, but it's not as bad as it could be, in the sense that Rogue is one of the strongest teams right now. They're, I mean, not the first team, but they were joint first at the time with us. The real problem for me is losing against SK, especially against the clean early game. Now, we started the game really, really well. We get some good kills, great map rotations, especially with the Twisted Fate. Niski, you know, super clean on his TF. We managed to get a very strong, like, a gold advantage, and then we just take the most stupid fights ever, and basically the Rengar ends up falling off really, really strong. Overestimating again our damage output, and we give the game to SK, and that's the part where you're like, okay, losing against Rogue sucks, but losing against SK in that fashion, when we're just like at one point in the game, you're looking at it and you're like, there's no way SK comes back. We just have to play properly. We just have to play controlled, manage our advantage, and then we close the game, like literally. But we get hungry for blood. We make our old mistakes of being over aggressive, and we just give SK the game. And there's not enough front line for Upset to deal damage freely on his Jinx, because the front line just gets obliterated. So yeah, I think the SK loss much more concerning, but again, if it's really because of the sort of bad practice that we had, let's leave it at that. Really, let's say that. My other concern is kinda in terms of Whippo's champion pool. It feels like if you really ban him out, so like his Diego, Xin, like any meta champions, it just becomes really hard for him to do anything, and he has to go into these sort of weird picks, like the Rengar, the Karthus, which are like kind of hit or miss. Like, sure, he can play a good Rengar, but I'm sure there was some better champions that could have been played here. I just want to have a look at the picks and bans against SK, because yeah, so Viego was out, Xin was out, Olaf, Lee Sin, And then, you know, obviously potentially Mundo, who can be played in the jungle. But I'm trying to see what would be, because the Nocturne was picked. Like potentially you could play Diana. I don't know if that would work well, but like with, I'm pretty sure you can try a sort of wombo combo with the set. If the set goes for his ultimate, and then with Diana you can jump in, you know, like ultimate E, so he brings everyone in, and Diana, and I don't know. This is me trying to find a way to sort of fit in a jungler that is not Rengar, basically, because I don't know. I don't feel like Rengar is a champion that made sense here. I'm trying to see. Actually, let me see what kind of junglers are available in there. Like Volibear potentially. Trundle, I don't know. What was actually playable here? Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, I think Diana was maybe a better pick here. Then you always have the volley to kind of give that front line as well. But yeah, I wasn't really impressed by the Rengar pick. I don't think it's the reason why we lost, but it feels like if you don't get ahead enough, then the Rengar is just, he's just here to give vision, basically, and scare the enemy. So yeah, disappointing week. There will be more to prove starting tomorrow, as we are facing Mad Lions, Schalke, and Misfits. Very complicated agenda for us. By the way, is it just me, or was Hilly missing a lot of skill shots in both games? That's a good question. I don't necessarily remember. I believe on his fresh, he played a decent fresh. He played Morgana against Rogue, I believe, right? Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember just Trimby doing an insane sidestep against the one of Hilly's Morgana Qs, so that might be one thing as well. But yeah, no, I usually trust Hilly's Morgana and Fresh. They're some of his like really good champions. He always manages to get some like insane picks. Like especially on Thresh, he really bends the hook sometimes. But yeah, I mean, just all in all, Fnatic lost as a team. I don't think there's really anyone that, you know, didn't stand out as the real culprit, but I think it was just bad decision making for those who maybe listen to the comms. Felt a bit messy sometimes as well, but I think a good takeaway is Upset, who was like, you know, basically this week sucked. Let's just kind of bring it back together. Let's take those mistakes in, make some learnings, some teachings, and let's go into the last week in a strong manner. So hopefully we see a strong Fnatic. Hopefully it was just a bad week, and we get back to our winning ways. Bad decision making in Tilt, quite possibly. I think there was a bit of an emotional response, you know, especially when we go like full out aggressive. I think that's definitely the emotional Fnatic that's talking here. But yeah, I think that kind of covers it for Fnatic this week. And we're actually looking to the playoffs this time. So you might be surprised about the schedule. This is taken directly from LoL Esports. I believe they've changed it. I believe they switched Friday and Saturday. But yeah, so Vitality, Schalke, I mean, we have both same predictions on both sides, so I think Vitality should get it against Schalke. If Schalke wins against Vitality, Jesus, I don't want to be Vitality in the off season. There's going to be a lot of drama, dude, especially with those players. SK versus Astralis. I think Astralis like really looking decent right now. They somewhat got me excited for them. That's how much excited it is to watch them. Excel Rogue looking to stay first. Mad versus G2. Mad Lions. Sorry, G2 I think will possibly look a bit more solid here. Misfits Fnatic. Right now I'm just fanboying. I hope Fnatic's coming stronger, so I voted for Fnatic. Oh yeah, I forgot to update this because on the community votes it was literally 50-50 for Excel versus Astralis. So I want to see if you guys added some votes since then. So let me have a look. Boom. SK versus wait, what game is it? No, Astralis versus Excel. You guys voted for Astralis. Okay. Let me add that then. Do I have it? Yes, it's right here. Boom. There we go. Oh, I actually forgot to update the points as well. Oh my god, this is all very bad. Those are not the points right now. I'll update them for next week. Misfits versus SK. I think Misfits got it, but SK can always surprise, so could go either way. Astralis versus Excel. I kind of want to see Excel win, but there's a high chance that that Astralis takes it. Rogue Vitality. Vitality is gonna get smashed. G2 Schalke. Schalke is gonna get smashed. Fnatic versus Mad Lions. Mad Lions gonna get smashed. No, I'm kidding. I mean, hopefully. I think we can win against Mad Lions because they're not always looking very hot. But I'm scared that we just jump against their team fight, and they're so good. They're like one of the best teams at team fighting. So I'm scared we shoot ourselves in the foot by playing into Mad Lions' hands. So, but still, I think I just voted for Fnatic. I just want Fnatic 3-0. I just want us to go super strong into the playoffs. But yeah, for the final day, Rogue versus SK. I have Rogue. Vitality versus Astralis. Wait, maybe your guys' votes changed. Vitality, Astralis. Yeah, you guys voted. Oh, you guys still voted Vitality over Astralis. That's interesting. I think Astralis got this. I don't think Vitality wins here. Schalke versus Fnatic. Surely we have to win this time. Mad Lions versus Misfits. I think Mad Lions gets it. G2 versus Excel. I think this game kind of puts the nail on the coffin for Excel. So thank you for everything, Excel. You were exciting to watch. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think about this, about those predictions. But we'll see. I'm not sure about the score. I don't know if I'm still ahead. I'm really not sure. But I'll have to update. Anywho, I think that kind of wraps it up for today's show. Actually, a short one. Small announcement. I'll actually be on holidays next week, so no show next week. Now, I don't know when playoff starts. I don't know if there's still the week buffer in between. If there is, then it's lucky for me, because in that case I will do week 8 in 2 weeks, so literally before playoffs start, as we usually do for this podcast. If the playoff starts next week, then unlucky, and I'll do the show on the first stage of playoffs in 2 weeks. So yeah, Hopefully, I come back with a beautiful tan and not as pale as the Scotsman that I am. But yeah, that's that for today's episode. So thank you guys for tuning in. I always appreciate it. You can always subscribe to the Twitter, either my Twitter at @madscott_ or at IFB podcast. Guys, let's cross our fingers for Fnatic tomorrow. Pray that we get a 3-0 week. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Thank you Pluppy and Akali and Fnatic Cookie for your comments. Love the interactions. I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Don't get a heart attack this weekend. Always Fnatic. Thanks again, guys. Peace.